You will need a drawing or painting surface to transfer your image onto. I just happen to be using paper, a black and white copy of the image you want to transfer, a sheet of graphite paper, low-tack tape, and a colored pencil. Before we start, I'm going to give you a few tips that you should keep in mind when you're using this method. You will be drawing over your reference image, so make sure you're using a copy of your image and not the original. I suggest that you use a black and white copy of your reference because you want to make sure that you can clearly make out the contours of the figures in your image. If your image has low contrast, you can adjust that in Photoshop, make it black and white, and then print it out. Using a colored pencil instead of a regular pencil, that way you'll be able to see the lines that you've already drawn a lot more clearly than if you were using graphite on top of black and white. Also, one sheet of graphite paper can be reused many times. You don't actually need to replace it until most of the graphite is gone. Just fold it so the graphite won't rub against anything and keep it in a place that you'll remember. You'll want to make sure that you tape down your painting or drawing surface before you start so that it doesn't move around throughout the process of transferring. Next, place your graphite paper face down over your surface and place your reference image over the graphite paper, lining them up on one edge. But make sure that you leave a little bit of graphite paper peeking out from under your image so that when you tape it down, the tape is actually touching both of them. Now you can tape them down like this, creating a sort of hinge so that you can check on your progress as you continue. And now you're ready to trace over your reference image. Keep in mind that the harder you press down, the bolder your graphite lines are going to be. You should check your progress as you go to make sure you're transferring it as lightly or as boldly as you want. Once you're sure that you've transferred all of your image onto your paper, you can then remove the graphite paper and your reference image. Now, if you're like me and you ended up transferring everything a little bit bolder than you meant to, you can use a handy kneaded eraser to pick off or rub off some of the extra graphite until you're happy with the opacity of your lines. I began shading in my image just to give you an example of how easy it is to render an image once you've transferred it on using this method. I'm not gonna lie, I got really bored and stopped here, but you get the idea. Here's a prettier example of this method at work. This is a drawing I made with pastels on Canson paper, and I used cream-colored graphite paper to transfer my original image on here. For this portrait, I used charcoal on Canson paper, and I used just regular graphite paper to transfer the original portrait on here. Hi! I hope you learned something new in this video. If you liked it, and if you want to see more, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. As always, if you have any questions or comments on anything, please let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure you follow me on my social media. It'll show up on the screen. I've started using Twitter and Instagram a lot more than I was before, so maybe you'll like it. And that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!